Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Last Minute A. This channel is for life sciences. You're studying life sciences, you studying a new section, you freaked out. This channel helps to give you an idea what's happening, breaks down everything for you. And also, if maybe you have already been studying and you're overwhelmed at this point, your notes are starting to sound like gibberish, then this is the channel for you, okay? This thing is going to help you get that A last minute before you even expect it. So let's get into it. So today we're doing female reproduction. We're going to be looking at the parts of the female reproduction system, looking at menstrual cycle, the hormonal control of the menstrual cycle, and puberty. So let's just get into it. So let's talk about ovaries. We all know the diagrams are super important. So make sure that you know your diagrams. You can draw. It doesn't have to be a perfect drawing, as long as you know what each part is. You can identify each part and it's at the correct position. You can draw a label, put little notes, or you can print out those pictures and put little notes under your labels so that it'll be easy for you to remember, and the images are plastered in your head. That makes understanding something 10 times more easier. I learn with diagrams and notes, so that is just a tip. So let's get to the body parts, or the parts of your female reproduction system. So this is your ovaries. Your ovaries function is to produce the egg or eggs, ova, and also to produce hormones like estrogen and progesterone. So the ovaries are responsible for ovulation, which is when your egg pops out of your ovary ready for fertilization. It's responsible for regulating your menstrual cycle and your pregnancy if you are indeed pregnant. So your ovaries, we said they make the egg. The egg is made from your ovaries. It is ready now. It gets out of the ovaries and it enters into your fallopian tubes. So your fallopian tube serves as a pathway for your eggs to travel from the ovary to the uterus once it has been fertilized. If it's not fertilized, it's just gonna serve as a site of fertilization before fertilization occurs. So that's another important thing about fallopian tubes, or oviducts. They are the site of fertilization. So your egg comes out from your ovary after it's made there. It gets out, it stands, it goes into the fallopian tube. It waits there for the sperm, and the sperm will swim up to the fallopian tube, fertilize the egg, and then once the egg is now fertilized and it's a zygote, it then will travel down through the fallopian tube to the uterus. So it serves as the site of fertilization and as a pathway for the sperm to go to the egg and for the egg to go down to the uterus, basically. And there's cilia, which is like hair-like structures within the fallopian tubes that help push the egg and push the sperm and all of that. So hope that is clear. And then we have the endometrium, or the uterine lining, or the uterus. That is the inner lining of your uterus. The endometrium is the inner lining of your uterus. This area basically is the area that is going to carry your pregnancy. That's where your embryo is going to grow. That's where your baby is going to grow. And that's where you're going to carry your baby for the entire gestation or pregnancy. So if no fertilization occur and you are not pregnant, there's no baby, then this lining endometrium is just going to break down, because it's basically a layer of blood vessels and glands. It's gonna break down and you're gonna have your period. Basically, that's what's gonna happen. And then we have your cervix. Your cervix is basically like an opening, a small opening within your vagina or within your birth canal. And this basically is it's just a narrow opening at the end of your uterus, and it connects your uterus with your vagina. It opens up into the birth canal. And the importance of the cervix allows for menstrual blood to come out. So when your endometrium sheds, all of that shedding and blood comes out through your cervix. And also, when you are engaging in sexual intercourse, that's when the sperm is going to enter. It allows for the sperm to enter through there. And also, if you are already pregnant and it's time for your baby to come into this earth, that's where the baby is going to exit out of you. It's going to go through the cervix first, and the cervix will have to dilate for that to happen, which means that it will just grow in diameter, and then the baby was going to come out. Basically, that's where the baby will start to exit. And then you have your vagina or your birth canal. It's just circular muscle. It's a muscular tube that connects the cervix to the outside of the body. Basically, it's the pathway outside of the female tract of the woman. It's the birth canal path. Same thing, it serves as a path for your menstrual blood, serves as a path for when you're giving birth, and it also serves as a path for the penis to deposit semen into the female reproductive tract during sexual intercourse. So the part of the female reproduction system is fairly more easy to understand. Like I said, everything starts when the ovaries, the eggs are formed, and then once they're formed, they exit through to the fallopian tube. The eggs waits there for the sperm. Let's say the sperm comes and it fertilizes the egg, it becomes a zygote, it grows and grows, and then it uses the fallopian tube to go down to your uterus. Once it has entered your uterus, it will implant on the endometrium or uterine lining attached to the blood vessels, gets its nutrients from there. It's time for you to give birth. So in the uterus, that's where your baby will grow and you will be carried. And then once it's time for you to give birth, your cervix, which connects your birth canal and your uterus, will dilate, giving an opening for the baby to come out. Your vagina, your birth canal as well will be just the exit point. And if you're on your period, you do not get pregnant, the egg will just come out with the menstrual blood. It will go down the fallopian tube, and your endometrium, uterine lining will degenerate and shred, and menstrual blood will come out with the egg through your cervix, through your birth canal. So hope that was easy. Then we are looking at the different stages of the production of the egg, basically. So what happened is that you have this is basically called your menstrual cycle. And what happens during your menstrual cycle, you go through a phase called the follicular phase. So what happens in the follicular phase? It takes 13 days, day 1 to 13. This is what happens. So you're going through your follicular phase. Your pituitary gland, which is in your brain, it's part of your brain or your central nervous system. It's part of your brain, and this gland will release FSH, which is follicular stimulating hormone. FSH will then stimulate ovaries to develop follicles. Each holds an immature egg. So what happens that the pituitary gland says to the body, or says to your ovaries, oh, we have to release, we'll release a hormone, and that hormone will tell your body, that hormone is FSH, and it will tell FSH, we need your body to produce eggs. We want to have a baby. And then your ovaries then are going to release these follicles that have immature eggs inside of them. And for women, only one egg. So it will release multiple eggs, but only one egg will become mature. So that egg will undergo some mitosis, and then it will mature in meiosis, and then it will mature into a Graafian follicle, which is a mature female egg. Graafian follicle, and this Graafian follicle starts producing estrogen. That is a hormone, a female hormone. So it starts producing estrogen. And this estrogen, while this process is just at the beginning, it's causing your uterine lining or your endometrium to start to thicken, start making those blood vessels and glands. Okay, that is happening, and your egg is also mature. So then, so your estrogen is important for maintaining your pregnancy, supporting your pregnancy. Basically, estrogen is actually important for preparing your body to get pregnant. That's it. Estrogen is important to prepare your body to get pregnant. Okay, what happens on day 14? Day 14 comes, and what happens here is that you have high volume or concentration of estrogen and FSH right now. So you have high level of estrogen. When you have high levels of estrogen, that causes your body to release luteinizing hormone, LH, luteinizing hormone. Your body feels this high levels of estrogen, and then it's triggered, and it's like, oh my god, I have to release luteinizing hormone. And this luteinizing hormone then will cause that egg. So the graphene follicle, it's like a shell, and inside there is an egg inside the shell. So what happens is that the luteinizing hormone will cause the graphene follicle to burst and release the egg. And so the egg then will be released out of the graphene follicle, and it will and then that egg will just travel out of the ovaries, and it falls into the fallopian tubes. So now you are fertile. This is when you are fertile, and also this is when the female body is more aroused or has a high libido, because the body is like, we have to have a baby, we gotta have a baby. So you are very fertile at this phase. Then from day 15 to day 28, remember we had this graphene follicle, or we have this shell that is inside your uterus, in your ovaries, that is empty. The egg is already exited. So this shell is now going to be called, this empty shell is now going to be called a corpus luteum. The corpus luteum is just the empty graphene follicle. The corpus luteum, it's not longer a graphene follicle, it's a corpus luteum. The corpus luteum is going to secrete progesterone. The empty follicle that is now the corpus luteum is just gonna start producing progesterone. So while it's a follicle, while it's still a follicle, once you have the immature follicle, or you have the mature graphene follicle, that produces estrogen. Now we don't have any follicle, we have the corpus luteum. Now that we have the corpus luteum, that secretes progesterone. That is secreting progesterone. And progesterone is very, very big on maintaining pregnancy. That is the function of progesterone. Making your endometrium or your uterine lining very, very thick, filled with blood vessels, filled with glands that will support pregnancy, and it keeps supporting pregnancy until you give birth. So that's the function of the corpus luteum. So let's say the embryo implants. So when the embryo implants, so like the egg that has released, it got fertilized and underwent mitosis, and now it's an embryo, and it's time to attach into your uterus wall. It will implant, and it will produce HCG, and this HCG keeps the corpus luteum active and alive. So the corpus luteum will not degenerate, it will stay there, because you are now pregnant. The embryo has attached. So it will keep the corpus luteum alive. But if you are not pregnant, if no fertilization has occurred, so what happens? The corpus luteum will break down. It will degenerate. There's no corpus luteum. There's nothing that is producing progesterone. And if there's no progesterone, the lining is not supported by anything, and it will start to shred and break down, and then you're going to go through your menstruation, which is when you are bleeding, going through your period. So the main function of your corpus luteum, it is to support the pregnancy by secreting progesterone. So I'm gonna break this down, don't worry. So the next part, I explained that I'm gonna talk about the hormonal control of your menstrual cycle. So this diagram also comes out in your exams. So like as you can see at the top, you have the ovarian cycle, which will show you what is happening in the ovaries in every phase. The second part, okay, we can ignore the body temperature. The third part is we see the hormones that are produced in your pituitary gland in your head, the hormones that are secreted in your head, and we'll see at which point these hormones are high and low and how at what part of your cycle. And then we have ovarian hormones, the hormones that are produced inside your ovaries, like your estrogen and your progesterone. And then we look at the lining. The last part shows the lining, how your uterine lining looks like in every part. So it's day 0. You look at the ovarian cycle. We have this immature cell, egg or follicle. Nothing's happening. It's boring, whatever. And your hormone levels and even your wall, because you can see you're going through your menstruation at that time. And while you're going through your menstruation, your body's like, okay, I'm ready to start all over again and try to see if we're gonna have another baby at the end of this period. What happens is that your anterior pituitary gland, as you can see, will start producing high levels of follicle stimulating hormone. If you look at the third line, you will see that FSH starts being produced, and when that happens, your follicle, when FSH starts to increase, your follicle starts to mature. The follicle has formed, it's now maturing, and at the highest level in that first part, you see that your follicle is now mature, right? It's now mature. When you look at your ovarian hormones, as your graphene is growing, your estrogen levels are also increasing. And now your menstruation has stopped and your lining is starting to get thick. Then your graphene follicle is big, and now it shoots up the estrogen levels at a high. And when that happens, also you can see that your follicle stimulating hormone is also at a high, because your graphene follicle is growing. It's become so mature, and your estrogen levels are super, super high. What happened is that ovulation happens day 14. Ovulation happens on day 14. You see high levels of follicle stimulating hormone, high levels of estrogen. At the top, your follicle just burst. And when that happens, your luteinizing hormone levels are high. So the levels of estrogen, as you can see, estrogen is at its peak just before day 14, just before the graphene follicle burst. And then on the day that the luteinizing hormone is at its peak, that's when the graphene follicle burst. And then when it bursts, your estrogen levels are now down on the low, not too low, but they just went back down. And now your luteinizing hormone also levels are just now calming down. The egg is out. And once the egg is out, you see the top, your graphene follicle. So now you notice the follicle is gone. When the follicle is gone, there's low levels of estrogen. When luteinizing hormone has started, the corpus luteum forms. So the corpus luteum has now formed. What does the corpus luteum do? So your luteinizing hormone and follicular stimulating hormone, they're the lowest because they're doing nothing at this point. But now we have this corpus luteum. This corpus luteum is producing progesterone. That's why your progesterone levels are high. And if you look at when your progesterone levels are high, your endometrium or uterine line is very, very thick. It's much more thicker now, more glands, more blood vessels. It's ready to support a pregnancy. But unfortunately, you are not pregnant, and then if no fertilization has occurred, what happens now is that your corpus luteum, so there's no embryo. So if there's no embryo, there's no HCG to support the survival of the corpus luteum. The corpus luteum dies and it degenerates. And when it does that, you see the progesterone levels go down. And when they go down, you see your uterine line starts to degenerate and you go into your period. You get your period. You get your menstruation cycle. So I hope that made sense. I hope like this diagram shows you how everything works. So to understand how everything is happening, you can start from the top. Look at where the graphene or the follicle is at. Look at how the hormone levels. Look at the thickness of your uterine line. As you learn, that's going to help you understand. You're going to look at it vertically. So lastly, puberty. So puberty is stimulated by estrogen in the female body. So once you hit puberty and your estrogen levels in your body are high, what happens is that the female will start having wider hips. You will see they will start to grow breast. So that is the mature features that you will see in a female that is undergoing puberty and getting into her mature features. That is all controlled by estrogen. So we are done for today. That was a lot of information. I know. I'm sorry for being overwhelming. I hope it was very clear for you to understand, and I broke down everything and the hormones and all the stages in a way that is very understandable. There will be more videos that will be explaining other different parts. For example, how does a follicle grow? The stages of the follicle and how it grows, or how the eggs are formed in a female, and unlike because a male we did explain how the sperm is formed. I will do a video about that, and I also will do a video about the development of a fetus, which is a baby, how from egg to fetus to baby outside of the body. So I will do a video about that. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe, hit the notification button. This channel will really make your life easy when it comes to life science. Share this video to your friends, your classmates who is also struggling, or even if they're not struggling, they're doing well. But obviously, the only reason why they're doing well is because of their studying. So this will be another help into their studies. Leave a comment down below if something is not clear, if you want me to go through a certain section. Like this content, please, so that will show YouTube that this is valuable to you and it will be valuable to others. Thank you so much for tuning in and for supporting me. God bless you. Good luck with your studies and your tests and exams. Bye.